sure it works. No. Why is it doing? Yeah.
You can sit near, so if I need your help, I'll call you.
Seems to be working. I'm gonna try not to jinx it.
Okay, that's such a long step. Good evening, everyone. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'd like to thank Dr. An for being here with us tonight and everyone who made it out here. It's nice to have familiar faces back. I'd like to introduce Dr. An. He's a retired pediatrician and a distinguished historian. Since 1971, he has authored numerous articles and studies on the Cyprus problem and the island's history. He published in various newspapers and journals in Istanbul and Nicosia. Dr. An has published 25 books in Turkish, focusing on the political and cultural history of Turkish Cypriots. He served as the Turkish Cypriot coordinator for the bicommunal movement for an independent and federal Cyprus, established in 1989. In a landmark case, Dr. An won a ruling from the European Court of Human Rights in February 2003, asserting his freedom of assembly after being denied it for promoting intercommunal contact in Cyprus. His efforts contributed to the historic opening of the Lydra Palace checkpoint on April 23, 2003, facilitating crossings between Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. Dr. An?
First, I would like to thank Severis Foundation that they invited me here, and also I thank you that you came to listen to me. This evening, I'm going to talk about coexistence in the disappeared mixed neighborhoods of Nicosia. As I talk, I would change some pictures, although the pictures I collected them from internet. They are not good quality, but it will give you an idea. During the medieval period, the Pedios River used to run in the middle of Nicosia. When the Venetians decided to build the walls surrounding the town in 1567, the river's bed was diverted for strategic reasons outside the walls, following its present course through the greater Nicosia. The old riverbed within the present city walls from Paphos Gate to Famagusta Gate was covered in 1882 by the British in order to serve as the city's principal drainage system. This line follows today Paphos Street and Ermou Street, where were both lively centers for trade, both lively centers for trade. There are 4 bridges on this riverbed. The first one was near the Paphos Gate. I have to put the previous picture there, near the Paphos Gate. The second was at the place where we call now Lokmacı Gate, the crossing point, end of Lydra Street. The third was at the junction where the Goldsmith Street, near the Municipality Bazaar, crosses the Trikupis Street, and this was called Köprübaşı in Turkish, head of the gate. And the fourth one was at Tahtakala neighborhood, around here. At the time of the Ottoman conquest of Nicosia in 1571, the town was originally divided into 12 neighborhoods. This is in Ermou Street, and in the middle you see one of the martyrs during the conquest of Nicosia. So this picture will be later, I think. Originally, the town was divided into 12 neighborhoods, and the 12 generals in command of the divisions of the Ottoman army, which conquered the island, were posted to these neighborhoods, so that the names were said to be derived from these 12 generals, like Arab Ahmet Pasha, Ibrahim Pasha, and Mahmud Pasha. Later, the old city Nicosia was divided into 24 neighborhoods. Each neighborhood was organized around a mosque or a church. These are the martyrs. This is the second martyr from Bayraktar, and the second martyr is near Panoromeni, the first building there on the right is Panoromeni Church, and on the corner is a grave. This is one of the Ottoman soldiers that fell there. These are the quarters. This is in Turkish, the quarters. This is Nicosia from the conquest hill, they call it. Each neighborhood was organized around a mosque or a church, where mainly the respective Muslim and Christian communities lived. It was natural to have a church near a mosque or masjid, and the hojas called for prayers could get mixed with the sound of the church bells. For example, behind the Dükkanlarönü Camii on the Paphos Street, this is Ayasofya Quarter, with old pictures. And this is Paphos Street, and in the middle you see Dükkanlarönü Mosque, which was which was ruined by itself in 1962. And today, Erdogan decided to build it newly, but it's just on the Green Line that I think no one is going to visit this Dükkanlareli Cami. Dükkanlareli Cami on the Paphos Street, and there were the Armenian and the Catholic churches, or behind you can see the Latin church conical thing, or Ay Lucas Church near Akkavuk Mescid. They are both together. Near the Phanoromeni Church was the Araplar Mosque, which was used until 1951. In some neighborhoods, the majority population were Turkish Cypriots, and in the others, the Greek Cypriots. In the Arab Ahmet and Karamanzade neighborhoods, the Armenian Cypriots were the majority. Almost all the Nicosians were living mixed. In other words, the Mohammedans or the Turkish Cypriots and the Christians or the Greek Cypriots and the other ethnicities used to live as neighbors side by side. In the census of 1946, the population of Nicosia was 31,485. And in this census report, the distribution of the population was given for the first time not as Muslim and non-Muslims, but according to their ethnic origins, such as Turks, Greeks, Armenians, Maronites, etc. In 1946, there were 10,330 Turkish Cypriots, 20,768 Greek Cypriots, and 3,387 persons of ethnic origins in Nicosia. This is the fountain of the Dükkanlareli Mosque on Paphos Street that they are renovating it today. And this is, I'll put it bigger, the neighborhoods in Nicosia with their Christian, Muslim, and other inhabitants. So within the walls used to live 24,967 persons. Outside the walls, 9,518 persons in quarters like Köşkü Çiftlik, it was a part of Arab Ahmet neighborhood. Yeni Kapı, the New Gate, it was part of Yeni Cami neighborhood. And Yeni Şehir, Neapolis, part of Ibrahim Pasha neighborhood. These are the outside quarters or the villages of Nicosia. In the outskirts of the old city Nicosia, there were 9 villages, where a total of 18,839 persons were living. These villages were Ayos Demetrios, in Turkish we used to call it İncirli, Eglence, Hamit Mandralar, Büyük Kaymaklı, that you call it today Kaymaklı, and Küçük Kaymaklı, that the Greek Cypriot call it Omorfida, Ortaköy, Pallyriodissa, Strovolos, and Trachonas. The Turks call it Kızılbaş. This is Arab Ahmet Quarter in Old Nicosia. And this is the houses on the moats in Arab Ahmet Quarter where the British used to have an official ceremony. This is Victoria Street, old times. Again, Victoria Street, where the mostly Armenian Cypriots used to live. And this is a picture from 60s or 70s, how it looks like today. This is an Armenian monastery and the church, I think. Arab Ahmet neighborhood was the most prestigious residential area of Nicosia, where the Turkish high-ranking officials and the kadis, judges, and the pashas had their homes. First of all, it was near the old Ottoman Saray, previously Lusignan Palace, and easy for the high-ranking officials to go to their work on foot. Secondly, it was the coolest place in the evening during the summer because it could get the best of the evening breeze coming from the west from the direction of Morpho Bay into the Messoria Plain. When the Turks arrived, they confiscated the houses, the churches, and the other properties of the Latins and settled mainly in the towns and in the empty Latin villages. The Greek Cypriots, the Armenians, and the Maronites continued living in their traditional quarters of the towns and the villages. The Armenian Cypriots did not like the Latins, and it was recorded that they opened the Paphos gate and helped the Ottoman soldiers to enter into Nicosia during the siege of the town on 9th September 1570. Later, the control of the Paphos gate was given to the Armenians as a gift, together with the Benedictine monastery, this one, which was used by the Latins. With the special firman of the Ottoman Sultan, the Armenians could use for their religious services both the monastery and the church near the Paphos gate. Many other Armenians who escaped from the massacre in Anatolia settled in the Arab Ahmet neighborhood and lived there until the intercommunal troubles of 1963, when they were forced by the TMT, the Turkish Cypriot fascist organization, to live to the south of the Green Line. This is a picture where an Armenian family lives Victoria Street on a cart with their whole households. Since most of the Armenians who came from Anatolia could speak the Turkish language, they preferred to live side by side with the Turkish Cypriots, using the same language. The Armenians were known as tradesmen, and they were famous especially in the field of jewelry, tailoring, photography, and carpet selling. During the Ottoman period, the Lusignan Palace in Sarayoni Square was taken over by the Turkish governor of the island, and until the British demolished it in 1905, one could see its last remains. This is a palace before it was demolished with the inner court. This is its situation. The remaining entrance is still there. In 1905, they made the courts house. Oops. How should I go further? It's blocked. I have to make it smaller.
I made it smaller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is one of the windows of the old palace. Before they demolished, after they demolished it, they brought it to the Lapidary Museum near Turkish Cypriot Lyceum. You can see it today, and they built it on one of the walls of the Lapidary Museum. The only remains of this Lusignan Palace is a unique carved window in Gothic style, common to cathedrals in the 15th century, which is kept now in the Lapidary Museum near Hagia Sophia Mosque. Until the intercommunal troubles started in 1956, there were a lot of law offices around the Nicosia Sarayoni law courts belonging to the famous Greek Cypriot lawyers like John Cleridis, the father of Glafkos Cleridis. The Nicosia main police station was also near Sarayoni Square during the British time. This is the Sarayoni Square. Behind is law courts with Garutsas, old time. Yes. Now we come to the Tophane neighborhood. Tophane was another prestigious neighborhood where Turkish, Greek, and Armenian Cypriots used to coexist together with the Latins. Tophane means literally in Turkish, the cannon's house or the store for artillery ammunition. The medieval building near the Paphos Gate, Castelliotissa, was originally a part of the second royal palace of the Lusignans, and it was used as a munitions store by the Ottomans. Tophane gave the name of the nearby neighborhood. The Turkish Cypriot writer Hizber Hikmet Ağalar described in his book Neighbourhoods and Memories from Old Nicosia some Turkish and Armenian families from the Tophane neighborhood, where Turkish Cypriots, Greek Cypriots, Armenians, and Latins were living side by side until 1950s. In September 1945, the Ottoman name of the Tophane neighborhood was changed into Ayos Andreas. The nearby small neighborhoods of Tabakhane and Nöbethane were abolished and attached to the Ayos Andreas neighborhood, which after this had two muhtars, a Turkish Cypriot and a Greek Cypriot muhtar. The Turkish Cypriot daily newspaper Yankı wrote that a new church was to be built further to that neighborhood near the Pedios River, and Ayos Andreas would be the name of the church. Yankı was complaining on 17 September 1945 that there were Turkish Cypriot villages in Paphos district with the names of the Christian saints like Ayos Nikolaos, Ayos Yannis, and that these names were never tried to be changed by the Turkish Cypriots. The Daily Halkın Sesi reported on 16 October 1945 that all the three Turkish Cypriot members of Nicosia Municipality Council gave a protest letter about this alteration to the Nicosian Commissioner on 15 October 1945 to be handed over to the British governor. The columnist Yavuz wrote in Halkın Sesi newspaper on 19 October 1945 that the name of the Alemdar Bayraktar Street, used for 370 years, had been changed previously into Trikupis Street. Hasan Fahri Uzman wrote on the same issue in Yankı newspaper that 29 October 1945 that the name of the historical Turkish neighborhood was changed with the stroke of a pencil, and that the British still use the Tophane as a store for armaments, which gave the name to the neighborhood. Uzunyan was the only Armenian street name in the Tophane neighborhood. When Dikran Uzunyan bought the garden of a Turkish Cypriot named Hacı Sofu, he parceled the garden. The new street passing through the plot was given after his name. Nearby was the Tophane Mescid. This is a circumcision ceremony of a Turkish Cypriot family from Tophane neighborhood. This is the Mescid of Tophane. Now they renovated it. This is a place nowadays that we cannot see Nöbethane Mescid because the entrance is from this road just here. So it is very difficult to enter. I will show you later with a picture. Nöbethane was the headquarters of the Ottoman soldiers patrolling the town until he died in 1956. Hoca Salih Efendi used to open the Nöbethane Mescid at the corner of the Pygmalion, previously Çizmeci Street, and the Paleon Patron Germanu, previously Usta Kadı Street. Artemis Street was previously called Nöbethane Street. Several shops were built in the garden of the mescid, hiding the main building behind them. Tabakhane, the Taneri Mescid, was on the Perikleos Street, previously Kalkancı Street in Turkish, where Musa Nami Efendi used to live. He was a Turkish Cypriot village judge and one of the founders of the Nicosia Turkish Bank. His son Şevket Nami was also a village judge, later a tradesman on the Lidra Street as a general distributor of many trademarks for Cyprus like Quink ink, Parker pens, his master's voice, Singer sewing machines, and Hillman cars.
Musa Efendi's other son, Reşit Nomer, was a judge in Istanbul. His daughter, Nezira Hanım, lived in the family house in the Perikleos Street until she died in 1960, as the last Turkish Cypriot living in this neighborhood. Famous Turkish Cypriot tanners who used to work at the tannery and live nearby within the walled city at the Tabakhane neighborhood were Hallumazade Tabak Hacı Salih Ağa, Tabak Hacı Mehmet Bektaş Efendi, Debba Fellah Efendi, Tabak Emin Efendi, grandfather of Kemal Rüstem, and Tabak Mullah Ismail Ağa. Pharmacist Hasan Hilmi Bey, who was the father of Mrs. Şefika Durduran, used to live in the Megale Alexandru, Ahmet Efendi Street. Old police chief Ali Raci Bey had to move to İzzet Efendi Street near Ayasofya because his children were being harassed by the Greek Cypriot boys. He was the next door to Professor Davish Manizade's home, whose family were living also in the same Vasilis Vorgoraktonu, Behçet Efendi Street. The famous bar of Andonaki was also on this street, serving all the ethnic communities of Nicosia, like the other well-known bar, which belonged to the Armenian Cypriot Gamavor. This is the place where it was. Okay. This is the entrance of the Nöbethane Mescid that today you cannot enter unless there is a door on the street, it is open. This is the inside of Nöbethane Mescid, although they renovated it. It's not in service at the moment. This is the Tabakhane Mescid, the parallel road after Regina Street. You can see it today still. This is from another angle. And this is a Gamavar's tavern. There used to be 3 Turkish Cypriot singers that I saw one of them, the first of the ladies. She lived until the 70s. They used to make music, and the Cypriots, mostly men, they were listening to their songs and they were drinking. So, now we come to the municipality or public garden. We call it Millet Bahçesi. Tannery was a traditional Turkish artisanship, and the working place was just outside the Paphos Gate. After the British took over the administration of the island in 1878, they decided in 1890s to move the tannery away from the town to Köşkü Çiftlik. Old name was Tabakhane, near the Pedios River. Later, when Köşkü Çiftlik was populated with the Turkish and Armenian houses, starting from 1930 onwards, the tannery was moved to another place near Piroi village in 1953. The site of the original tannery was near Paphos Gate, which was Evgaf property, was turned into a public garden by the Nicosia municipality according to a proposal of the then British delegate of Evgaf. Later, this garden became the most popular and respected place for strolling Nicosians. When the Nicosia General Hospital was built in 1925 on a nearby plot, the importance of the public garden grew. There was a wooden pergola in the middle of the garden. Every Sunday, the police band would give an open-air concert under this pergola, and the people used to go and listen to them as a weekend entertainment. According to an article published in Hürsöz of 19 July 1953, under the title Ahirevan Dede, the grave of the master of the old tanners was kept in the public gardens until the beginning of the 1950s. Maybe it was the previous picture, or this is again the pergola. And these are the teachers of the Turkish gymnasium on a weekend visit under the pergola. And this used to be the grave of the head of the tanners. They call it Ahirevan Dede. And until the beginning of 1950s, you could see this grave in public garden. This grave, which was supposed to belong to a certain Vahveli, like the grandfather Ahiravanshih of the Tannery Guild, used to be visited by the newcomers of the profession as a respect. The Hürsos writer, newspaper writer, was complaining that some Greek Cypriots hanged a picture there and started to call this grave as Ios Dimitrios. He called the Evgaf administration to take action against the decision of the municipality council, headed by the Greek Cypriot nationalist Dr. Dervis, that changed the name. Now we come to Tahtagala neighborhood. Tahtagala is a neighborhood near the Famagusta Gate. This is the entrance of the Famagusta Gate and the main road in Tahtagala. The Ottomans named it as Taht el Kale, meaning the lower part of the fortress, that is Famagusta Gate. But the word was corrupted as Tahtakale or Tahtagala, meaning wooden fortress. The street going from the gate to the west was called Çarşı Market Street, now the Amohosto Street. Tahtakale was one of the biggest mixed neighborhoods of Nicosia, with a population of 518 Turkish Cypriots and 902 Greek Cypriots. Now, the only sign of this coexistence is the Tahtakale Mosque and the Quran School, which were built in 1826 by the Ottoman governor Said Mehmed Ağa, at the same place of the old mosque. There were also a small graveyard and a Quran school for the miners, which had its first teacher appointed in 1594. The Evgaf administration built shops on the side of the graveyard in 1950s. In 1881, there was a fountain near the mosque, which Salvatore drew a picture of it, but it did not survive today. The original minaret was cracked in 1936 and it was rebuilt in 1948. This is the place where Tahtagala Mosque is, and they renovated today like this. These are the inhabitants of Tahtagala quarter. Hasan Karabardak Ağa was one of the most popular personalities of Tahtagala neighborhood, where several Turkish Cypriot butchers and cattle dealers used to live. Karabardak was one of the rich Turkish Cypriots who were imprisoned during the First World War in the Kerinya Castle because they were accused of helping the Germans. And later they also wanted to establish a party which will ask for the union of the island with Turkey, or before Turkey, Ottoman Empire. The Imam of the Tahtagala Mosque was Ratip Efendi until 1935. He was the father of Ahmet Ziyaettin Bey, the owner of the first Turkish Cypriot macaroni factory. The signboard maker Cahit Usta was the son of Ahmet Efendi, the muezzin of the Tahtagala Mosque. In front of the mosque was a Greek Cypriot businessman making gyps powder out of the baked gyps masses. Behind his shop was the mosaic factory of Pittarilli that had its entrance from the Ermuz Street. The first Turkish Cypriot cheese producers, Ahmet and Hüseyin Efendi, brothers, were also among the well-known inhabitants that had later their workshop in Kaymaklı. The Turkish Cypriots living in the Tahtagala neighborhood were forced to leave their home twice, in 1958 and 1963. That is why the younger generations do not remember Tahtagala as a Turkish Cypriot settlement. This is also together with Karabardak. These are the famous notables of Nicosia as Ağa, Kahveci Söğüt. He used to have a coffee shop. And the second is Kahveci Ağacın, which was my mother's grandfather. And the third one is Atai. The Atai brothers, they used to have one of the first shops for electrical appliances in the Turkish quarter. It was their father. And this one was Karabatak, who was one of the founders who was put into prison because they wanted to rebel against the British administration and form a party which will unite with Ottoman Empire. This is a Ömerge Mosque that you can see it also today with two sherefe, two balconies. This is again an old picture of it. And this is Ömerge Baths that they renovated today. Now I go to Ömerge neighborhood. In the southern part of Nicosia and again near the archbishopric, there is another neighborhood called Ömerge with a population of 249 Turkish Cypriots and 917 Greek Cypriots in 1946. The Ömerge Mosque was the second biggest Christian place of worship after Hagia Sophia Cathedral in Nicosia, which was turned into a mosque by the Ottomans after the conquest of Nicosia. It was believed that Caliph Ömer prayed in the sofa of this chapel of Saint Marie des Augustins. After the conquest, Lala Mustafa Pasha turned it into a mosque. The last Muhtari and Muezzin of Ömerge Mosque was Ahmet Seyfi Efendi, who was addicted to snuffing. His daughter Peyker Hanım was killed by the EOKA fighters, who asked from her a glass of water, and as she went to bring it, she was shot from behind. The Ömerge Mosque, which has two balconies like the one in Peristerona, is used today by Muslims other than the Turkish Cypriots, and the Turkish bath Ömerge is renovated and is used as a tourist attraction that won the Europa Nostra Prize. The street near the Hammam was called Sutsos Street, which was out of bounds as there were bordels, where Turkish Cypriot and Greek Cypriot women were serving the men from both communities. Karannaki was famous helping the youngsters with his syringe after their visit to the bordels. Among the Turkish Cypriot big landowners in this neighborhood, we can name Galip Bey, the shopkeeper, Ata Dayanç, the manufacturer, Ali Rıza Efendi, the tradesman, and Osman Mısırzade and others. Now we come to Women's Bazaar. The Women's Bazaar was on the east side of the Makridromo, Uzun Yol, which is called today Lidra Street, and it used to convene on every Friday. It was established in 1850 by the Ottoman governor of Cyprus, Mehmed Ali Pasha, whose aim was to promote the trade within the island. He also established a weekly animal bazaar outside the Kerinia Gate. It was originally convened every September for 15 days, and the villagers from far villages used to bring their animals to be sold there. There were also people coming from the neighboring countries to buy animals and to shop in the Women's Bazaar. This is recorded in Ses newspaper, 26 February 1937. According to Kevor Keshisyan, the courtyard of the extensive square block of the shops and offices within Lidra, Diperti, Faneromeni, and Nicholas streets, which belonged to the Faneromeni church, was used as women's market. This area was known as the Garden of Orta Odası, with a Persian well in the middle, Alagadi in Greek, and Dolap Kuyusu in Turkish. The owner lived in Istanbul, and in 1893, the Faneromeni Church Committee bought the place for 1,100 Ottoman pounds through the intermediary of Mihaly Papadopoulos of Istanbul. This is the animal bazaar outside Kerinia Gate. It is today a park. This is the steel construction of Women's Bazaar, that it's a pity they pulled it down and put that ugly building today, where you have the shops, you see. This was the inside of the Women's Bazaar.
This one also. A British woman most probably buying some clothes. Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot women, they were dealing with each other. Here also a priest and a Turkish Cypriot woman with black dress. Yes. Now we go to Ailugas neighborhood. Many Greek Cypriots used to live in this neighborhood around the Ailugas church in the northern part of Nicosia until the first intercommunal clashes in Nicosia in 1956. Ios Lucas Church was dedicated to St. Lucas and was built in 1758 in dressed limestone during the Ottoman period. 18 October was a day of festivities in the name of Ios Lucas, which was the most famous fair, Panairi, within the walls of Nicosia. A 4-day and 4-night fair was organized annually in honor of I. Lucas, during which local products and seasonal fresh fruits and dried fruits, almonds and walnuts were sold, together with delicious shamishi and lokmades. The sweets, called pastellis, were brought in wooden boxes from Gazafani, and sujuko, paluze, and köfteri from the villages of Paphos. However, by 1956, when the EOKA and later the TMT intensified their terror activities, the Greek Cypriot inhabitants of Ios Lucas neighborhood were forced to leave their homes, and also the church was evacuated. The Ios Lucas church remained in ruins until it was restored in 1986, and it was allocated to a Turkish Cypriot Folklore Association, HASTER. This is a church where the people used to sit outside, mainly during summer season, that they can have fresh air. And this is a picture from Panairi of I. Lucas. After the attack of EOKA on the Turkish Cypriot villagers in Vasilia and the killing of a Turkish Cypriot policeman who was chasing 2 EOKA fighters, the intercommunal violence intensified. On 27 April 1956, the Turkish Cypriot newspaper Halkın Sesi wrote in its main title the following: Curfew was declared and applied in Nicosia yesterday afternoon after 5 o'clock until 4 o'clock this morning. During the 11 hours of curfew, the